to the previous recording that we had. Let me get that out of the way here. All right. I grabbed some previous student work because I think it's important for you to see what makes a successful rendering and what does not. These were from previous past semesters, way in the past. But one of the things that's important to understand is that your framing and the angle of your piece is important because it helps to communicate to the person who has never seen your ring, has never seen your Rhino file, what it is that you have here and what you are trying to communicate to them. We can see here that this is a ring. It has multiple pieces. I'll just let it go at that before we get into critiquing all these different kinds. So here is also a ring. We've got a ground shadow at the bottom. You can see the form is well communicated through the shadows and the texture of the material that the person has used. Here is another one. I will say something that bothers me looking at this right off the bat is that the ring is not in the center of the frame. That's something that you should really strive to do, because otherwise people who are used to seeing when your piece isn't in the center of the frame, your eye is constantly like roaming around going, oh, darn, I really wanted it in the middle. You can also do different viewpoints. And I started to show you this with Keyshot. You can go ahead, and these renderings, most of which weren't done by Keyshot, by the way. This is pre-Keyshot days, but I still think that these are a good example of how you can render. This one is a close-up. It's more of a detail picture. It's the same ring as we see here. Okay, here's another one. Part of what I find, this one is a little big in the frame. It's also not touching. It's not touching the bottom. And that's, it makes it look like it's floating. It has kind of an unrealistic look. And, but it does have a good contrast in the form from the back, but the texture itself is a little confusing. Maybe some different lighting might help that one out. This one is a very, high angle to show what's on the top of this ring as well as what's inside. You can see some of these rings are getting real creative with the shanks and how they fit around the finger. This ring is a little big in the frame. I'm not sure if that's a ring or a bracelet based on the way that how much of the frame it takes up. This one's kind of interesting. It's got, it's again, a little big in the frame. We have some color in the background, which is good. However, I would expect if there was this much color in the background, some of it should have reflected onto the ring itself. So it feels a little off to me for that reason, but it is a little big in the frame. This one is also a little big in the frame. One of the things that we're trying to communicate with a ring, and a couple of you that I've been working with Keyshot, and we've been I've been asking you to turn your ring a little. We don't want to look at the ring head on. It looks too mechanical. We want to show the side view of it. And this is a good example of how the side view is important to what this ring, to communicate the form of this ring. Although like I said, it is a little big in the frame. This is the same ring from an upper angle. Here is another way of showing a ring that you may have a lot of trouble communicating the form is to put two of them in the same frame. And you can do this with Keyshot. You can just add it in again. You can also go into the project panel on the right-hand side, and duplicate your part and then move it. And you can have the two of them in one frame. I wouldn't say that you would want your primary image to be like this, but sometimes to communicate the different forms of a ring, you do want to sometimes put both of them up. This ring is interesting. It's well sized in the frame. It's a little bit high though. It's not quite centered, which, like I said, bothers my eye a little bit. We really do want to try and keep things centered, but I think that the lighting, it has good light, it has good contrast with the background. You can see the form really well. And the different shadows in there really help to communicate how there are different pieces of this ring. This is a good rendering, except for the fact that it is a little big in the frame. Rings you want to have be a little smaller, as I've mentioned numerous times now, but I like that the texture of this metal is not too reflective. And so I don't have like hot spots. Where's the one? This one has a little bit of hot spots but they're so tiny, it's okay. But when your ring is too reflective, like this here, then it picks up bits of the background. It can be a little confusing. But here, having this extra texture on here helps to soften the light and make it so that you don't have those super hot highlights. Speaking of super hot highlights, this, you can see how the light is reflecting really, really highly on here. And there are places where this ring sort of blends into the background. You can see like in this area here, the background and the ring itself are almost the same color. So it's hard, and especially down under here, it's just hard to really see what this form is. This is not actually a ring. This is an ice cream scoop. Advanced CAD used to do ice cream scoops for a couple semesters as a project. And but this is a good example of a nice ground plane, because you can see that it's probably about this big. And it communicates the form really well. Some of the reflections are a little hot. This is a really good rendering of the metal. It has a nice shadow. It's just really big in the frame. And this is a really big image too. This is one of the larger files that I found. Again, another big image. I believe this is the same student too. But this one's got a really nice, you've got a lot of shadow and reflection, but the reflection's not too much of the light. So it helps to really define your form. And I think that's it. Yep. Yeah. So anyway, we're at 2:28 now, and I'm going to stop sharing. Do we have any questions about any of those renderings that we just looked at? I just wanted you guys to see some good examples of what makes a good rendering. Okay, and I believe that I saved that folder off in, let me just real quick check. Yeah, it's in my Keyshot folder. Actually, maybe what I'll do is I'll take that whole folder and just put it into the main. There we go. We got past student work. I've got a shortcut to it in there. Let me just real quick show you. Oh my gosh, going back and forth between the, there we go. Share the screen over here. So you can see over here in our CAD 1 folder, spring 2022, I've got a shortcut here. That'll bring up all of those images if you want to look at them again. Okay, all right, I'm going to stop sharing and I will let you guys go. I'll see you all on Monday. We will be, working together to finish our rings. Hopefully we'll get that last ring cast, and we'll see where we are getting ready for the end of the semester. Thank you, everyone. Good work today. And if you need anything, by all means, get in touch with me. You've got my cell phone number and my email. Oh, I can stop recording. Where am I at?